Hey oddballs and rarities, it's me. Brand new apartment, same old Abe. Wonder where art went? Check my page. Today I would like to share with you one of my absolute favorite things to make and give to someone else. The mixed tape. The art of the mixtape is a sacred one. For decades, possibly even centuries, the common man has used this technique to express feelings of kinship, nostalgia, solidarity, and even carnal lust. It's true that many of us would not be alive today if it weren't for a perfectly executed mixtape. You could just tell someone that you value their friendship, or even that you want to bone them raw Halloween style. But you know who's gonna do a much better job at saying that? Sade. No matter what the intention is, the mixtape is simply a way to let someone know that you've been thinking about them and that you would like to bestow a tailored sonic experience upon them. Making a playlist is all well and good, but handing someone a physical playlist, in my opinion, just makes the whole experience a little richer. Plus, you have a lot more control over what you can actually put on the playlist. I've been making custom tapes. Is that better? I've Down, boy. I've been making custom tapes for a few years, and not to brag or anything, but I kind of feel like I have it down to a science. So, if you'll allow, please join me, and I will show you some of the techniques I use to fully maximize this art. Let's pimp some tapes. Also, as previously mentioned, I have moved. This is by no means the final configuration of the room. Hope you forgive. Whatever. You don't give a shit about that. Be real. For the purposes of today's video, I will be using the cassette method. You can absolutely take everything I'm about to say and apply it to burning CDs. The only major difference is that the CD method would require you to individually download each track you plan to include on the playlist. But I will say one major benefit of the CD method is that most people are more likely to have a CD player rather than a cassette player. So it's ultimately up to you. I've chosen to use the cassette method today because I think it's incredibly accessible and it gives you much more control over the content of the playlist, but each method has its pros and cons. For the cassette method, you will simply need a cassette, an aux cord, something to actually play music off of. I tend to use YouTube on my laptop, and a cassette player. Now, it is important to make sure your cassette player actually has the ability to record. Most of them do, but if you have one of those little Walkman guys, it might not actually have the little circle button for recording. Also, you want to make sure that it has a headphone microphone jack for the aux cord to go into. Personally, I use the Panasonic Slimline, which sounds like the name of an action hero, a non-binary action hero. Also, you'll just need whatever paper and sticker materials you want to use for customization, which is entirely up to you and your artistic whims, although I would not recommend hand painting your cassettes because the paint will not stick to the plastic in the way you want it to. It will stain the hands of whoever touches it, and it could potentially mess up your cassette player. Blank cassettes in this day and age can be a little tricky to come by out in the wild, but the good news is that they are actually quite easy to find online, and they are generally quite inexpensive. You can go to the Office Depot website, and they still sell these Maxell ones that are very good. There are a few tech websites where you can actually order ones with customized colors and tape lengths, which is very useful if you are, trying to put your own music on cassette. And my personal favorite is eBay, because people will sell these big boxes of blank cassettes of different various lengths and brands, and I think it's cool to have different options for different purposes. The only downside to this method is that there is no guarantee of sound quality, because tapes do tend to degrade over time as they sit as you use them. Personally, I haven't found this to be a super big issue as long as you don't, f with the actual tape inside the case and, maybe avoid sitting them in direct sunlight and boiling them in soda. I still have a bunch of tapes from the 80s probably that still sound immaculate. If they haven't degraded that bad in 45 plus years, I'd say don't worry about it that much. And speaking of tapes from the 80s,
Yar! It be me, the techno pirate hacker.
what are you doing here, techno pirate hacker?
I'd be wanting to share with ye a way that ye can pirate your grandpappy's Berry Manilow cassettes and infuse them with shanties of your own.
You're crazy, techno pirate hacker.
Be that as it may, I've still got plenty of wisdom rattling around in this bucket of bilge. Now what ye be wanting to do is grab a little bit of this adhesive tape. Now, ye be seeing these little divots on the top.
FBI! I do not know that guy.
Agent, status report.
I shot someone.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Typically, a device like this would be used to record something like a private conversation over the phone. You could leave one in someone's house, hide it, and then come back and extract it later. However, I want to make it perfectly clear that we do not use this tactic anymore. It's actually way easier to listen to your phone calls now. I would actually not recommend using a device such as this because you could put any old thing on this, right? You could put any old thing on this, and there are certain entities that would have no way of knowing what you're putting on here, what kind of rhetoric you're engaging with, and that would make those entities feel very left out. Now, the F in FBI stands for FOMO. Can I get an amen? Look, I'm just gonna come out and say it. Art is a slippery slope. It brings people from different walks of life together. It makes people engage in critical thinking. It's just... If you absolutely must share music with someone, listen. There ain't nothing wrong with Spotify. Spotify literally does not do anything bad. Trust me. Personally, one of my favorite things about Spotify is that it actually tracks every single thing you've ever listened to and makes an algorithmic profile of you based on your activity, which I find super useful. Just keep it simple and, try to remember what we all have in common. We're all just doing our jobs and we all love America. Good rule of thumb is if you can play it at a football game, it is safe to put on your playlist. I'm personally a big fan of Bruce Springsteen, The Boss, Born in the USA, absolute classic. Everything you need to know is right there in the title.
That is not a patriotic song. You put the tape over the little divots on the cassette and it lets you record over the Berry Manilow. Yar!
To record your playlist onto the tape, you simply connect the cassette player to your laptop or computer with the aux cord, press down the record button and the play button, and play the song from your laptop. You won't hear anything at first because the aux cord is transferring the song directly onto the tape, but once the song is finished, you can stop the recording and rewind it, and you'll hear it in all its glory.
I would never say it's not going to sound like that. I made it sound like that on purpose by doing the button thing like that.
It's going viral.
It's not going to sound like that unless you do this with the buttons. I did that for fun.
Of course, you could just put the cassette player next to your computer and hit record without using the aux cord, but that would record the entire room. So if an ambulance goes by, or if you burp or fart or something, that will also be audible on the track, and the overall quality of the song will be super diminished. So I'd highly recommend finding that aux cord you lost, Abe. And that's basically it. Now you know how to make a mixtape. Now let me show you how to make a good mixtape. Crafting a sonic experience for someone is a delicate balance. It can't just be it shouldn't just be wall-to-wall songs that you know that they love, because they already know and love those songs. What I like to do is a little something that I have decided to call the share, subvert, and season method. Basically, what that means is that I'm sharing songs that I love, that I think they would also love. I'm subverting songs that I know they love by incorporating different versions of those songs that they might not have heard of. And seasoning is the really fun part I will get into later. Let's start with sharing. If I'm making a tape for someone who is into like Tyler the Creator, Danny Brown, Earl Sweatshirt, based on the fact that they seem to have an affinity for this like alternative experimental art rap style, you know I'm gonna hit them with some Open Mike Eagle. I'm gonna hit them with some Princess Nokia. I'm gonna hit them with some Scallops Hotel. Okay? Another good idea is to trace back who these favored artists were influenced by. So if they do like Tyler the Creator, it's probably a safe bet they're gonna like MF Doom or Jamiroquai. If they don't already, if they like those artists, they're probably going to like Biggie Smalls, Tribe Called Quest. If your friend likes MCR, they're probably going to like Placebo and Thursday, and if they like those bands, they're probably fucking gay. And there are also endless ways that you can subvert songs that you already know they love by finding alternative versions of them. There are demo versions, live versions, acoustic versions, covers by other artists, parodies, vaporwave, nightcore, slurmcore. The possibilities are literally endless. Let's say we've got a friend who likes the Talking Heads. That's probably true. They've heard This Must Be the Place. But have they heard the live in Austin, Texas version? Have they heard Burning Down the House by The Used? Have they heard Dog Eat Dog by Weird Al? Have they heard Everybody's Moving Around, from Documentary Now? There are so many fun things you can do to put your friends onto something unexpected. And also, a very simple truth to me is that I'm always trying to make my friends laugh when they listen to my tapes. To give some good resources for unexpected versions of songs, I would recommend, obviously, Tiny Desk, Weird Al, AV Club's Undercover series, Triple J's Like a Cover series. There are so many great covers of songs made by random people on the internet with acoustic guitars and ukuleles and kazoos even. Many of them upload constantly, so they have these huge catalogs of songs to choose from. You can find chiptune versions of songs. You can find MTV Unplugged versions of songs. And this one is so good that I almost want to keep it to myself. But dude, The Muppet Show. Oh my god. You want to talk about pure imagination from Willy Wonka, sung by Ben Vereen? Get right out of town and shut the hell up. Are you kidding me? In My Life by the Beatles, sung by motherfucking Twiggy? You're about to get your shit absolutely railed. But just hold on. Because this next part is about to blow your damn socks off. It doesn't have to just be music. We've shared, we've subverted, now it's time to fucking season that shit. I'm talking poetry. I'm talking skits. I'm talking inside jokes, political speeches, radio dramas, passages from erotica novels, top 10 fart sound effects. If it can be heard with the human ear, it can go on a mixtape. When I make a tape, I absolutely love adding these little extra sound bites as interstitials. I'll usually put one at the beginning and the end as little intros and outros, and then here and there I'll put one between songs just to sort of segment the flow a little bit. This is something that you can really tailor to the recipient of the tape by adding clips from their favorite shows, clips from things that you've watched together, clips from their favorite YouTubers or podcasters. Some of my go-to sources are Vines. Those compilations of vocal stems always have really great sounds. The legendary Important Videos playlist that is like, it's genuinely like a load-bearing pillar for some of my oldest friendships. There's a lot of mutual nostalgia around it. I've used clips from I Think You Should Leave, My Brother and Me, again, The Muppet Show and Sesame Street have great sound clips. There's YouTube poops, literally just go nuts, dog. Also, don't be afraid to make it more of a moment. These are great as interstitials, but sometimes carving out a whole slot for a non-song element can be really rewarding. I think the best use of this is with poetry. You can find countless incredible poem recitals on YouTube. There's the My Favorite Poem Project. There's the poem I Wish I Had Read. Do yourself a huge favor and check out Deaf Poetry. And at the end of the day, you can always unplug the aux cord and just record yourself reading a poem that you like. Aside from poetry, there are stand-up comedy tracks. There are, again, podcast clips and short story readings even. It doesn't have to just be music. It can be anything audible that you want to share with someone. Now that you've shared, subverted, and seasoned all on your mixtape, all that's left to do is to put it together and customize it. I like to use the J cover that comes with the tape as a base and either make a little collage or put down a layer of white paint and then draw or paint something over top of it. The reason I like to use the J card is so that I can still write the track list down on the inside. You can also use an index card for this. You can just cut it down to size. For the cassette itself, they can be a little tricky because the plastic doesn't really want to work super well with a lot of materials. So I usually just put some stickers on it, make sure that it is at least identifiable so it doesn't get misplaced or recorded over. I like to give my tapes a little title, but you don't have to do that. You can just call it Mixtape for Friend and it still gets the job done. And that's how you make a great mixtape. I also have just a few small recommendations to make the process run a little bit smoother. Number one is to make a digital playlist of everything you plan to put on the tape. That way you can check in on the runtime, make sure that it's not running too long, and also make sure that it is not running too short because you don't want to have a lot of dead space on the track or on the cassette. Number two, anytime you are listening to music, this helps me a lot. Number two, anytime you are listening to music and you hear a song that you want to share with someone, add it to a private playlist with that person's name so you already have a list and you don't, when it comes time to making your tape, you don't have to go, what was that song I wanted to show Barney? Your friend's name is Barney. It's also a good idea to keep a little playlist library of sound clips that you would like to use in the future as well. I always hear little sound bites that I want to use, and I probably forget about most of them, so that's what the library is for. And my final piece of advice is to take a picture of the tape's cover and track list before you give it to them. The reason for doing this is so that if you end up making them another cassette in the future, you don't accidentally end up putting a repeat song on there. Of course, you could just hold on to the digital version of the playlist that you made. I like to have photo evidence because, selfishly, I like to remember all the cool cover art I made for people. And that's pretty much it. But I did also want to add that I've been talking a lot about making tapes for other people, but you should absolutely also do this for yourself. I have a bunch that I have made purely for my own enjoyment because it is such a fun thing to do. It gets your creative gears turning. You can have so much fun with different themes and different moods. And I also find that it encourages you to listen to your music a little more actively. That being said, the reason I love making tapes for other people is because all of my friends are insanely creative people. And I believe that all the art you absorb ultimately finds some small way into your own art. And I just get so excited about thinking, like, what might this song inspire in someone's own music or their movie or their painting or their poetry, literally anything. I'm just absolutely in love with the idea of putting a little fuel on someone's creative flame. It's almost like making little investments. I don't know. Let me know what you guys thought of this video format. I kind of really want to do more stuff like this. I've been thinking about doing a whole series on arts and crafts in the interest of being like, hey, remember arts and crafts from kindergarten? You can still do all of that stuff. So let me know if this is something you'd like to see more of. Let me know if there are any specific art ideas, crafts that you would like to see me cover on the series. And if this video inspired you to make a mixtape of your own, please, please, for the love of God, post a picture of it on this channel's community board. I really want my community board to just be like a digital art gallery. Wouldn't that be so fun? Okay, I'm gonna hop off now. I hope this video inspired you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. As always, I'm Abe, and this is a Fable. Thank you for being here. I went back in the closet because Pride Month is over.